Welcome to Alli and Christian Code, the show where passion meets expertise in the world of software engineering. I'm Alli, a former healthcare provider turned software developer.
And I'm Christian, an experienced software engineer. We are here to share our learnings together as we find collaboration is better than going alone. All right, so we left off last time where we have our page wired up and our data working on one spot by manually setting the string. So if I add my button that which is outside of our config, increases. I hit the minus button. Now the changes within our config. That's great, but pretty manual, not exactly what we want,
Not where we want to
and
be.
how we want to be.
Yeah.
So if we take a look at how we're doing that by setting the string. So in the way that this is working, it's only ever getting that when it's initialized and when we change it directly inside this decrement count. What we want is for us to have something else, some other way to either alert our configuration to check everything, or for it to say that this data is somehow dynamic and updated in a way that we can define how that will display on the page once inside of our config definition and not have to touch the rest of the pages all over to make it work, because this one in particular wouldn't be the most painful to do in both places, but it would get really painful if we had to update every property, every
and it kind of defeats the purpose of setting up these configs like this. If you're just going in and changing it in every spot, then that's not user friendly. That's not what we want. So we want to set it once and have that data update as it updates live.
Absolutely. If we expand this out a little and look at our config that is doing this, we're trying to give it that variable. The hope originally was that by giving it the variable there, it would do that update. Let's go take a look at what our UI config definition looks like. So we have our type and our data and our action is for something like a button click. So what we probably want to do is either change or add another something to be dynamic data. We could think about, maybe we replace the string of data with something that's dynamic always, or maybe we do something that gives us the option to do both, depending upon what we care about in that particular moment. I think off the top of my head, I can see plenty of spots where we would just want some string that never changes, and having something dynamic there could be overkill.
Yeah.
But we know that it's not going to be a string. So we need to figure out what this dynamic data type will be. The action is what gets called to let the system know that something needs to change. But it's not really an action of string. This is slightly, I think, different than what we probably want there.
Yeah, I think so too.
what we probably want is a function, or a func, as it likes to be shortened to in this example. And the key part of this here is that it is the output type. So because we would say the string that we're passing in the angle brackets is an output type of the result that we're wanting, we want our configurations to all be outputting into string. So we don't have to do anything within the components to display them differently. So let's see what this could look like if we gave this, and I think similar to action, we probably want it to be nullable, such that if it's not there, we can still display the data instead.
Yep. Doesn't matter.
Let's change this to static data. And let's add some dynamic data.
And then you need like the closing curly bracket.
Closing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is being used on our p-type tag. So we'll open up our system over here. We have our p-type tag there. We'll do that. We'll do this. So now this can be just running the method. And this can be just displaying the data. And we can let the C# style if block handle the others for us.
Logic. And this will display both the dynamic and the data. Well, no, it wouldn't. We would want to account for that though. What if you want both? What if you have both pieces of that p tag config?
Sure. Let's see if we get this to work, and then we can address that question.
Good plan.
Dynamic data. And so we do see that it is showing the string from the dynamic data return there.
Very good.
But as you pointed out, it's not showing the static data at all. And we also aren't actually doing anything dynamically yet. So let's do some changes to get that to actually show the dynamic nature so that we understand that it's actually dynamic. So let's do this. Current count. Okay. And then let's remove these calls as well.
Yep. So those methods, the increment and the decrement, are only updating.
So if this works like we think it should, it should update from this value whenever those buttons are clicked and reflect by changing what's returned out of this function and updating the strings. That's the question, or the next question then is, how would we want to showcase the dynamic data and the static data? Would we want this to be inside of that p tag, the static data? Would we want it to be how this is, if else? Or would we want something else? For our purposes, I think I would feel all right showing both, because that's really less of a development decision and more of a business decision. What are we displaying? How are we displaying? What do we care about displaying? Are all things that we can do either direction, either way that that it's wanted. It's just a matter of what choices do we want to make.
Yep.
Some bad typing and pastings there. Okay.
There we go. That looks
That's better. Okay, and it's claiming that because I'm inside of the p tag now, I need my if, I believe, to also be at.
I think so.
So that this if block becomes code executed. That looks happier. We'll probably give ourselves a break line there.
Good thinking.
I think another path we could take would be to come back into our config definition, and we could start to add additional properties or even some generic options that we could then build upon, so that that could be a choice at the particular setup of this component. This configuration could say both, neither, or, but this
style
should
A
now
or style B.
Absolutely show this, have this break, not have this break, have it be inside the p tag, have it not be inside. All sorts of fun different ways we could look at that. Okay, cool. So we have our dynamic data count of 0. We have our static data. We add, which was very first not changing on both, is now changing for both.
Yep.
And our minus is also changing for both. So we have achieved our initial goal of setting this up to reflect this variable that we defined on this page as it gets adjusted based off of user interactions.
Awesome.
Awesome indeed.